Hey, what's up everyone? It's LOZA. Today we're looking at the Gaze of TIMAEUS and why it's going to be such a phenomenal card coming up in Dark Magician. Why you're going to want to play a big number of them. We're all leaning towards 2, but there is an argument for 3. So I wanted to show you today why Gaze of TIMAEUS will be potentially a 2 to 3 of moving forward, kind of up to you. But let's get into why we think Gaze of TIMAEUS is so good at 3. And number 1 is it's your primary search off Rod and Dark Magician of Destruction. 9 times out of 10, you are just going for the Gaze of TIMAEUS, and that's because the new game plan revolves around getting to Dark Magician of Destruction, searching your gaze, turning it into Dragoon on your opponent's turn, right? That seems to be the new gameplay loop. And if we look at some of the starting cards to get there, it's normally these 2 cards. It's normally either Dark Magician of Destruction or the Dark Magician Girl, the Magician's Apprentice. And you'll notice both these cards identify as Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl while on the field, and that is the cards that interact with Gaze. So what's great about these cards is when you get to them, you can chain Gaze to dodge hand traps like Imperm and Veiler. Now the problem with Gaze is it is once per turn, but the fact that it's quick play means you can set it and use it on your opponent's turn. So opening multiple Gaze can be quite good. We'll show you about opening multiple Gaze a bit later, but now let's look at just opening the 1 Gaze and the 1 Preparation of Rites. So this is the typical Dark Magician opener. Now we activate the Preparation of Rites. This of course gets us the Illusion of Chaos, put that in the hand and that can go to the grave. We're going to reveal Illusion of Chaos. He's going to go get us the Magician Souls, and we'll just restack the Illusion of Chaos on top of the deck. So we'll just put him away for now. And then of course we're going to use the Souls effect, and that will let us send Dark Magician to the grave. And then we will opt to summon the Dark Magician while putting the Magician Souls into the graveyard like so. Now because we've used a spell, we can banish this Dark Magician, and that will let us just, go into our good friend Dark Magician of Destruction. So now the Dark Magician of Destruction's on the field, I'm going to use his effect to search, and my opponent's going to try to hit me with one of 2 hand traps, either the Imperm or the Veiler. Doesn't matter which one they try to put on him. You're able to go short chain Gaze of TIMAEUS, and obviously we'll target Demod rather. And what's going to happen is the chain will resolve backwards, right? So we'll go Gaze of TIMAEUS, we'll shuffle him back into the extra deck. So I will resolve his wonderful fusion summon into Dragoon, or you can make one of the Dark Magician fusions that actually identifies as Dark Magician if you wanted to push it forward. And now I can resolve my search, getting the missing piece that I need. Now in this case, there's not really a good target to go for because in our grave we don't have it set up for anything. So the rest of this search would be determined by what you're missing, right? Typically you just go add another Gaze, but because we've got Red Eye's Dark Dragoon here, what I would go for is Soul Servant, which might not make a lot of sense, but it's a card where you can discard it and you feel kind of okay about it because you can get a draw off it later. Or you can set it, and on your opponent's turn you can flip it to stack a card just before you draw for turn. It's not great, but I mean, it gets the job done. So long story short, you can use Gaze of TIMAEUS as a pseudo Call by the Grave crossout. And now Dark Magician of Destruction is obviously going to be one of the best targets to dodge a Imperm or Veiler with, but there's more. We've been talking about the Shining Sarcophagus package in this deck and how it can really help things just work. And well, the cool thing about the DMG is she identifies when she's summoned as DMG. So what we're going to do is we're just going to discard a random card here. Let's just take this Imperm, thank you. We're going to have an opening hand that looks like this. So we've got the Gaze of TIMAEUS, we've got any discard, and we've got the DMG, okay? We're going to discard the random card, which lets us special the DMG. Our opponent is going to try to either Veiler or Imperm, it really doesn't matter, right? They're going to try to hit one of them on here, either of these hand traps. We're going to chain Gaze of TIMAEUS, targeting the DMG because she identifies as DMG while she's on the field. So if our opponent tries to hand trap us here, as long as it's not Ash Blossom, we're actually kind of fine with that. So Gaze of TIMAEUS will resolve first, shuffling her back into your deck. And typically you want to make Dark Magicians, though you are able to also make the TIMAEUS Magi Dragon if needed. So if it's a matchup where TIMAEUS Magi Dragon is more useful, go into him. If not, I think Dark Magicians 9 times out of 10 is better, though you can make Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight too. I don't think it's worth it, but you can. And then we resolve the Dark Magician Girl search, and we go and get ourselves Shining Sark. I love this line because obviously you can see we're going to get a free draw. You can go Shining Sarcophagus, you can skip the draw part of Dark Magicians and wait, and do the Sark search first. Typically, we are going to go and search the Dark Magician. Now, on resolution of the search, we will use the draw 1 so that we don't draw into the Dark Magician we're about to search. I'll put this red card face down here to represent that we've gotten 1 draw. Now I'm going to use the Dark Magician to special summon himself. And of course, I can send him or the Dark Magicians away now to summon the Dark Magician of Destruction. I typically like to use the Shining Sark Dark Magician, though I can understand if you wanted to use Dark Magician since this is banishing at the end of my opponent's turn. Though I think because this can potentially still get you a draw, it's better to leave it on the field and banish the Dark Magician from the Shining Sark archetype. So we'll banish him to go into Dark Magician of Destruction. Dark Magician of Destruction effect to search, and like you just know what we're going to add, right? We've got 1 card in hand and we're going to be adding Gaze of Timaeus once again. If your opponent's got another Imperm or Veiler, then like, sorry, there's nothing we can do about it. If we didn't bait them with the Dark Magician's draw 1 for another Imperm Veiler, I don't know, you kind of can't do much else. So anyway, we started with just DMG and Gaze, and we're ending with another copy of Gaze. We're going to get a draw 1 on the opponent's turn, and we can discard a spell with Shining Sark to stop them special summoning from the graveyard. Super random niche effect, but I do like it. It's very cool. You could also link these away. I don't think it's necessary. I think what you would do is you'd have the 1 card in your hand, you'd set the Gaze, and on the opponent's turn, at any point, you're just going to flip that Gaze, shuffling back the Dark Magician of Destruction, summoning out your beautiful Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and boom, you've already used 2 Gaze, and yes, this one's going at the end of the opponent's turn, this one's banishing at the end of your turn, so you've still got some leeway, and you've got that card in the hand that you drew, so you know you've got your discard for Dragoon ready to go. What's going to happen here is once the turn rolls over, sorry, we're going to draw 1 for Dark Magicians as well. So 2 cards drawn. We started with a 2-card combo, all from Dark Magician Gold, discarding 1, and we've ended with 2 cards in hand, Dragoon, Dark Magician, Shining Sark. Obviously, we got uninterrupted in this test hand, but you see what I'm saying? Like, this stuff is really nice. Gaze is really, really nice at helping the deck dodge interruptions, something that Amulet could never do. Everyone clown on Amulet. In case you don't know, Amulet is just shocking because it is required to respond to an effect that's responding to one of your Dark Magician effects, and it can only be a monster effect that's responding to your card. It's very confusing. So you have to activate an effect, your opponent has to activate a monster effect in response to your Dark Magician based effect, and then you have to chain Amulet as chainlink 3 to your opponent responding to your Dark Magician related effect, and it can only be if they use a monster. It's super confusing wording when like Drill Beam's just like, just negate and banish. I don't care what you are, just target, negate, banish. Like, they could have just copy pasted Drill Beam, we'd be a lot happier, but hey, we can't have nice things in Dark Magician. Anyway, we do get to play Gaze of Timaeus, which is an awesome card. However, yes, let's move back to our turn now. In theory, the turns passed back. Maybe our opponent didn't out these. Here's what's going to happen. This card will banish itself at the opponent's end phase, unfortunately. But the good news is, Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, well, he's still just hanging out and chilling. Dragoon will stick around until our end phase, so we got a couple of options. One of them, you're going to want to use Shining Sark to start with. So use Shining Sark, search any Shining Sark related card, doesn't matter which one. I'm just going to add another copy of DMG to the hand. Now we've used a spell, so this guy can turn into this guy if I banish the Dragoon. But if it's more damage, maybe you go to the battle phase first, smack your opponent with Dragoon and all that fun stuff. But it normally works out better to not do that. So typically, before you go to battle phase, here's what I would do. Now I've used a spell, I'm going to shuffle back my Dragoon actually into my extra deck. So that's actually quite nice too. Oh no, sorry, I lied. I'm going to banish my Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, and that will let me summon the Dark Magician of Destruction again. Dark Magician of Destruction effect. Gonna add my final copy of Gaze of Timaeus. Sensational card, guys. We're going to go into the battle phase, and we're going to hit our opponent for 2-8. Now, typically, like, I know we don't have anything in the grave. Typically, you will have something in the grave that you can revive. We've just banished everything that we have, so there's nothing. But typically, from here, you will go Gaze of Timaeus, targeting and shuffling back this beautiful guy, and you go into your Master of Chaos. And your Master of Chaos will revive a guy, and you will swing again, and you can normally just kill someone. If you can summon a Dark Magician, you can potentially just kill someone, which is awesome.
Hey everyone, it's Editing LOZA again. Sometimes I just find stuff that I didn't quite do to perfection. So, let's go over the combo again. You have DMG, you discard Imperm or just anything, and your opponent's going to hit you with Imperm Veiler here, so we are going to chain the Gaze. And we're going to summon Dark Magicians, much like we did. The start is pretty much fine, it's just the follow-up that I didn't like, so let's keep going. Activate Sark. Don't use Dark Magicians yet, activate Sark. To search, get Dark Magician, Shining Sark one. Now use the random draw, that's fine, we're not going to set it. Summon the Dark Magician from the Shining Sark deck. Turn him into Dark Magician of Destruction. So far it's pretty much the same, but this search shouldn't be Gaze. Well, it should, but it should be Rod get Gaze. Or more specifically, you should be searching for Illusion of Chaos to fix your hand and go get Rod. But we're going to skip that step, but you should definitely go get Illusion of Chaos first. You're already playing way into Droll. Like, if they're going to Droll you, should have been Drolled ages ago. Normal Summon Rod. This is where you get your Gaze of TIMAEUS. And yeah, then obviously this is going to change what your M board's going to be as well. Because we can actually end on like SP Little Knight or something cool like that. I would probably just get rid of Rod and Dark Magician of Destruction. We do not want to banish, but it's cool that we can. And we set our Gaze for the opponent's turn. On the opponent's turn, our opponent's finally going to start doing stuff. We're going to flip Gaze. Gaze is going to let us shuffle back this friend if they don't have a Bestial and whatnot. Summon our Bestie Dragoon. We can use the Dark Magicians now to get a fatty draw. And we could Chain Rod and add it back to hand. So I think do we miss our draw if we do that? Let's find out. No, we still get our draw. So I would say that's the best thing to do. Tribute the Rod and get that back because guess what? The Dark Magicians is going to banish anyway. So I think that's fine. But you could also have IP Masquerena and then link away with the Dark Magician. So you got a couple of options. I'm not saying this is the best way, but this is an option. Now you've got SP and Dragoon, and you've drawn two, like, this combo started with 3 cards in the hand, and it's already got the 3 cards in the hand again, right? The starting hand was the random discards, Shining Sark, DMG, and Gaze. And, like, we already, like, refilled our hand while making a board. Don't forget, Shining Sark's technically an interruption too, because your opponent's specials from grave, discard 1 spell, say no. Doesn't matter what we top deck here, we're just considering this a blank card, right? Oh, look at it, blank card. I didn't even know you could do that, that's really cool. Okay, on this turn, this is where you can kind of start the cycle again. And what I mean by that is we're going to go get our Dark Magician of Destruction and kind of start doing all the plays again. But another cool thing is we don't have space in this deck. You can go into Selene right here, and you've got enough spells to just revive your Dragoon, right? We can straight up revive this Dragoon, which is huge. So that's another thing that I would like to add on, but this deck's not playing Selene for some reason. You could just straight away link this to Selene and summon back Goon. That's huge. But let's say that's not available or there's not enough spells, I don't know. You can just go for Shining Sark, go and get whatever, it doesn't really matter. You don't even need to like consider what we add, because the main factor is we've used a spell, which means we can do this again. So we're going to go into Dark Magician of Destruction. He can go and get you whatever. We've got Rod back in hand as well, so he can literally just go and get you Gaze. And like this is just going to be a crazy amount of damage, right? Because we haven't normal Rod yet. Like this is just an insane amount of damage if this goes uninterrupted, right? Now, here's the thing. We got the 3rd copy of Gaze here off Dark Magician of Destruction or Rod. But as I mentioned, most people are going to be playing 2. So I wanted to make this video also to say this is where you get Soul Servant instead of the 3rd Gaze. Because Soul Servant would just recycle one of the Gaze in the bin, and then bam, you'd have the 3rd Gaze, right? Because you can just recycle in this deck. So don't forget that if you're only playing 2 Gaze, like that's fine. That is absolutely fine. I think 3 is really good because you do want to open it, but I still think 2 is probably going to be the optimal number. But anyway, from here, you're going to go get Secrets, or you could get, like, obviously we have DMG in this hand, you'd get Soul Servant, but we're kind of ignoring the DMG for now. But anyway, Battle Phase, this is an absurd amount of damage, right? An absurd amount. I don't think I need to show you, but we'll look at it anyway. We're pretty much swinging into an open board here, so we're probably going to have more damage than 8k, but that's okay. We'll show off as much as we can. Okay, it's probably best to Secrets first. I guess we're making Timmy with these 2. And then we would probably just Gaze instantly because it puts another spell engrave for Timmy. And you can go and get Master of Chaos or Dragoon. Master of Chaos, bring back Dark Magicians. Like, your opponent is just dead. And this is why part of me is like, we can cut the access code stuff now. Like, look at the extension we do just with our engine. So part of me is even like, we don't even need space for links so much. Just like the techie links like Blue Eyes, maybe Spheres, I'm Doc, SP, IP. But with Super Poly, it's a bit rough. But anyway, I'm getting a bit off topic. The point is, opening Dark Magician Girl and Gaze, insane. And of course, 2 copies of Gaze is also acceptable. Just use your Soul Servant, right? Go get your Soul Servant, recycle the Gaze if you have to, okay? Kind of plays into more interruptions, you could say, but I think it's going to be fine. Anyway, I'll let you guys keep going with the live action video. Bye.
Now there's also the secrets argument along with Gaze. Because we typically have secrets still at 1, people are normally playing 2 Gaze, and I can respect that. I've been doing that myself too, because in some of my games I have all 3 of these, and I'm like, why? But in saying that, I think Gaze of Timaeus is just too good to not play it at least 2. So anyway, I'm going to be shilling 3 for a while. Now having secrets and Gaze, I want to show you the crazy stuff you could do with that. So you might be thinking, without preparation of rites, how do we get to a spell activation before we summon Dark Magician of Destruction, right? And that's what I'm going to teach you here with this test hand. So we're going test combo. We're going to go 3 cards, either Secrets and Gaze, Rod, Souls. If you haven't prep, you don't even need to think about this. But if you don't have prep, this is why you need to play Soul Servant at a big number 2. We're going to use the Magician Souls effect, and it's going to send DM and then summon the DM. We're going to normal the Rod. Rod needs to get you Soul Servant here, okay? It's super important you get it. Because obviously if I search Secrets and Gaze, like, I'm not doing what I want to do. From here, you can now go Soul Servant. Soul Servant to stack the Secrets or the Gaze, whichever one you're missing. And then we will just banish it, and we will try to draw the 1. And we're drawing the Secrets. Great, we've used a spell. That is why we played the Soul Servant. And, like, I know it seems like, why don't you just get the Secrets instead? But now we've used a spell, right? Now we can banish our friend here and get the Dark Magician of Destruction. So, hey, that's pretty nice. From here, we go to the battle phase. We hit our opponent for 16 and 28. We're just going to pretend they have an open board, right? 28, 16. That is 4,400 damage. That's pretty good. We're going to go Secrets of Dark Magic, fusing these 2 away. The best target I can make of these 2 is the Timaeus, the United Magi Dragon. He will have big stats, so you can now swing him in. No, actually, don't swing him in yet. We can get him a little bit stronger. We're going to activate Gaze of Timaeus. It's going to target the Dark Magician of Destruction, shuffling him back into the extra deck, summoning out the Master of Chaos. Master of Chaos effect. You could just go for Dragoon as well, but if you're pushing for late game, Master of Chaos, summon out Rod. Typically, you'll have a better summon, but in this example, obviously your graveyard is not filled up, so it just has to be Rod. But you could also just make an argument for, like, just make Dragoon so you have a negate for next turn. Absolutely. We're pushing for a maximum damage, though. So now we're still in battle phase, mind you. We've already attacked for, 4,400 damage. So now we're able to attack for another 3k, another 1,600, which is 4,600. So we've already hit through like an 8k lethal. Then you can swing with Magi Dragon, activate its effect to gain 200 extra. So 3k on top of that. So 6k, 7,600 plus the 4/4. Is that 11,000 damage? I think that's 11,000 damage all up. So that's, like, for Dark Magician, they're good numbers. We were not hitting those numbers before. So Gaze of Timaeus really makes Master of Chaos come back and shine for us. So I'll show you another unique play with Gaze of Timaeus and Master of Chaos on the opponent's turn. Oh boy, it is so windy here. We're going to open up the exact same combos. That's going to be your Rod, your Souls, and your Gaze of Timaeus. Same combo, but this is for going first. So what do you do when you've already opened Gaze? Well, you're still going to go get a second Gaze. It really does kind of phase out Circle Eternal Soul, but that's fine. We're going to start the exact same way. So we're going to do the Souls effect to summon the Dark Magician, or send and summon the Dark Magician. Fantastic. We're going to normal summon Rod. Once again, you need to go and get Soul Servant for that spell activation. So activate a spell. I'm going to stack, for me, another copy of Gaze of Timaeus. And you might be wondering why, because it's once per turn. Stick around and find out. We're going to banish the Soul Servant. We can draw the Gaze of Timaeus. Fantastic. We can banish Dark Magician to now go into Dark Magician of Destruction. Dark Magician of Destruction, effect to search again. I just realized we can have 3 Gaze of Timaeus. You don't even need to open Gaze for this combo. This is insane. Alright, I just realized for this last combo, I don't even need to play with a Gaze to start it off. I can get 2 to my hand, so Rotten Souls, baby. Rotten Souls is all you need. And let's kick it off. It's going to be the same as most games. Magician Souls goes to the grave, sending DM and summoning the DM. That's going to be a lot of the ways we start combos now, just because of how good Dark Magician on the field is now. Normal summon Rod. Rod effect to get a spell. We're going to get Soul Servant. Soul Servant activate. It's going to stack Gaze on top of the deck. We're going to banish the Soul Servant, draw our first copy of Gaze. And of course, we've used a spell, so that means we can banish Dark Magician, go into Dark Magician to Destruction, Dark Magician to Destruction, add our second Gaze. Yeah, boy, we got the double Gaze. Now we got a couple of options. See, our dilemma here is we need to get a second Dark Magician in the graveyard. So, Magician's Rod is going to borrow from our good old friends at Blue Eyes. Link away for the Spirit with Eyes of Blue here. Spirit with Eyes of Blue effect, go and get Mausoleum. Mausoleum effect, dump Dark Magician. Now we've effectively got 2 Dark Magicians around our field. The problem is we're locked into dragons. Machi's shown how we can use Deception to pop this to search the Azamena fusion spell that helps get around this card locking us into dragons. Unfortunately, we're trying to do this from a test perspective of just Rod and Soul, so we're not going to have extra stuff like that. Another way you can just fix this problem, though, is by linking into a dragon link to a generic one. I currently don't have them on me physically, so what we're going to do is just link into this face down card, and I'll show you on screen a couple of the dragons you can pick from. Doesn't really matter. You just want the one with the highest stats, because they're all just going to sit there and be dragons. Now we're not locked into dragons anymore, and I've got 2 Gaze of Timaeus. So I'm going to use one of my copies of Gaze of Timaeus. Let's shuffle back the extra deck, fella, and we're going to summon out Beaka Boy Dragoon. First Dragoon has hit the field. Wonderful. Gaze of Timaeus goes to the bin. Second copy of Gaze, setting it on the field. I should have 3 more cards in my hand. Fantastic. We've got the Dragon Link 2, we've got Dragoon, and we've got a random Mausoleum, and we've got the beautiful Gaze of Timaeus set. Alright, pass to the opponent. On the opponent's turn, at some point, we use the Dragoon negate, discarding a random card. Fantastic. The Dragoon has now used its negate. Card dead. Card useless. So in other builds, you would let IP Masquerena here go away with the Dragoon and link into SP, and, you know, then you'd have your Dragoon in your grave. We're kind of relying on our opponent outing the Dragoon, because, I mean, if they're not outing it, you're in a good spot. If they are outing it, you're in a bad spot. So once they've outed your Dragoon, well, you can just flip Gaze of Timaeus, shuffle back Dark Magician, summon Master of Chaos, bring back the same Dragoon. This is low-key better because you got an extra body. You do lose Master of Chaos from your extra deck, but I think it's worth it, because then if Master of Chaos gets destroyed, you can add Gaze back to your hand. I really like that. Bringing back the same Dragoon is just really funny to me. But of course, things don't always go perfect, right? Some of you are probably saying, well, Loza, what if my opponent hits my Dark Magician in the grave with a Bestial, called by the grave? What if my opponent MSTs my back row Gaze and I haven't used my Dragoon negate yet, or they don't out my Dragoon? Like, why do I go? Just don't go on a Master of Chaos. Instead, shuffle back your Dark Magician and just go into your second Dragoon. There's nothing stopping you from going into the second Dragoon. I just think the Master of Chaos play is really cool and epic. But obviously, you can just do this as well. Now, at the end phase of your opponent's turn, this Dragoon will banish himself, unfortunately, because of Gaze. But of course, if you did the Master of Chaos thing, the Dragoon you bring back does not get banished, because he forget. So yeah, you're picking up what I'm putting down. Gaze is pretty good, right? Now, another engine we're playing, of course, is Primite in Dark Magician. It's just amazing. It does have one big dilemma, however, and it doesn't have a way to get Gaze. Obviously, it's not Magician's Rod. So this is why in my builds, I'm doing one thing as well, which is playing 3 Soul Servant. Now, this is something crucial I've noticed with all the people who are mixing in Dark Magician engines and stuff. People are playing this at like 2, and I understand that. If you see with some of the other engines, it's absolutely dead. But this card is so good when you see it with freaking Primite. And that alone makes me want to play it at 3. Now, not to mention, we've looked at another engine tonight that's also sensational when you see Soul Servant, and that would be the Shining Sock engine. So, have a look at all these cards that seeing Soul Servant with is really good. Obviously, I don't need to show any DM cards, because you know they're going to be good with it, but straight away, we've got the Shining Sock DMG, because she identifies as DMG. You've got Shining Sock, which gets the DMG. You've got Future Silence, which gets the DMG. You've got the Dark Magician Shining Sock guy, which is only good if you have the sock, but you get what I mean. Oh, here's our other package, Diabelle. Oh, guess what? She becomes this guy, he's DMG. So then, he's Dark Magician, sorry, on the field and grave. So suddenly, why aren't people playing 3 Soul Servant? Like, everything in our deck makes Dark Magician or gets to Dark Magician or the girl. To me, Soul Servant is like an instant 3, especially if I'm playing 60 cards, which I most likely am. Soul Servant, along with Gaze, are like almost 3. I get the 2. Once again, I could definitely see the argument for just 2. But man, it feels like if there was ever a time to play 3, it is right now. And I swear it's not just because I have 3 QCRs. I swear. Anyway, let me tell you why you want to be playing 3 Soul Servant and like 3 or 2 Gaze. Alright, so everyone knows what Normal Summon Barrel do. Everyone knows Raw is a 1 card get to this guy, right? Like, that just makes sense. It's a spell, it summons Dark Magician then becomes this, like that. That makes sense, right? I don't really have to talk about that. What I do need to talk about is why opening Soul Servant with the Primite stuff so good, right? We go normal, Mr. Barrel or Mrs. Barrel. We get Load. Load says, go get Drill Beam, cool. Load says, summon Dark Magician. Huh. And now we're locked out of Dragon effects. Sorry, Special Summon Monsters effects. Well, that doesn't really matter. I'll go Soul Servant, I'll go stack Gaze of Timaeus, and I'll banish. And guess what? I think I can use it or I can just set it. It doesn't really matter. I would just set it. Pardon me. Now, on my opponent's turn, because I open Soul Servant, because I'm goated. Remember, Soul Servant is kind of just Magician's Rod, right? Because we have so many engines that get to Dark Magician or Dark Magician Gold. It's like, it should just be Rod. Like, it's just a cracked extender at this point. Because remember, this card can go stack Magician Souls as well. So even if you open multiple, like, it's a little annoying, but it's not the worst. On my opponent's turn, I'm going to hit him with the Pow Pow Drill Beam, and I'm going to hit him with the Pow Pow Gaze of Timaeus. And what's better yet, I can tribute the barrel and mill another Dark Magician to the graveyard, which might not seem that relevant. But by milling the Dark Magician to the graveyard with Beryl, it means, one, I've got Beryl in the grave to recycle itself next turn, just in case my opponent doesn't out it. But I've also got Gaze of Timaeus leaving this Dark Magician on the field, meaning if I want to Drill Beam later, I can. So I shuffle back this Dark Magician instead, and go into this Dragoon here. So now on the opponent's turn, I've got Drill Beam, I've got Dragoon Negate, and if I, like next turn, sorry, in the standby, I'm going to add this Beryl back to my hand. And I'll start the cycle all over again, right? If it comes back to me, Beryl comes back to my hand. Drill Beam's over here. I normal summon the Beryl. The Drill Beam resets itself on the field. I've used a spell. Have I? No, I haven't used a spell. But normal summoning Beryl, turns out, will go get me another copy of Load. And activating said Load will probably get me Primite Raw or another Beryl. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, now I've used a spell, so hey, it's time to banish one of these dickheads and go and summon this guy again and just start the whole cycle again, right? Because then this guy will get Gaze. And you see the cycle, like there's clearly a loop that we have here. It's just like the Dragoon, Dark Magician of Destruction loop, and obviously the Primite loop. Like there's so many loops, brother. Brother, may I have some loops? So, you know, that's why Soul Servant to me is just absolutely insane now in the deck, right? Let me show you what happens when you open Soul Servant with DMG, right? Are you ready? This is easily the best discard for the Dark Magician Girl, the Shining Sark one. So, here we are. Best discard. Discard Soul Servant. DMG effect. Get Shining Sark. Put Shining Sark on field. Shining Sark, search the boy. Summon the boy. Need I say more? Need I say more? We've already got Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl names on the field. I can banish and draw 2 right now. But obviously we want to get through as much of our combo as we can. So we'll go into banish this fella, go into Dark Magician of Destruction. Dark Magician of Destruction, go get our most important favorite card, which is Gaze. Don't need Soul Servant because we've already got it. Though you could get it, I guess, if you wanted to. Actually, yeah, it's technically correct. No, not necessarily. If you want to draw more hand traps, this is the better one. So let's do this. We search the Gaze, and what more is there to do? We've got 1 card in our hand. We're going to banish Soul Servant. We're going to draw 2 random cards. They're going to be different greens. I'm sorry. Disgusting. But we've already got 3 extra cards in our hand. Like, huh? Well, one of them being Gaze. The other 2 being 2 random draws. We've got Dark Magician Girl on the field, and Sark on the field. So we can still link these away into literally anything we like. I'm going to do the LOZA special that everyone hates, and I'm going to make SP Little Knight. I don't care what any of y'all say. This is just the best way to demonstrate a generic link to. So you're going to be passing with SP Little Knight, Sark, and a gaze set, and 2 cards in your hand. So, well, 5 cards in your hand because DMG discarded one and she used Soul Servant to get them back. So that's pretty awesome. Every card you can see before you is a 1 or 2 card combo that gets you to Dark Magician of Destruction. And if you look at the top line, all 6 of those cards can dodge Impermal Veiler thanks to Gaze of TIMAEUS. Now, I will special shout out to Secrets of Dark Magic, because yes, Secrets of Dark Magic technically can also help you dodging hand traps. However, it needs 2 bodies. Gaze only needs the 1, so it's just card efficient. But you could argue because Secrets can summon something that doesn't have to banish itself at the end phase of your opponent's next turn or the next turn, you could argue Secrets can sometimes be better. And I do think Secrets still has merit in the deck, though a lot of people are cutting it, and I mean, people would only ever play 1 of it anyway. But I also see people doing something like this, which is also very respectable, because if you think about it, Soul Servant can recycle either of these from grave, so I do understand that logic. But in my head, I'm just like, these cards are basically extra copies of Called by the Grave or Crossout Designator, which those cards are at 1, right? Or Tactics. Tactics is kind of different, but you get what I mean. Those one-of responses to hand traps. These are kind of that on steroids because it's in archetype and we're going to search them anyway. We want to open them most of the time. But yes, I understand. Can be bricky. Can be bricky playing this at 3, especially with the Secrets, which I get that's a lot of cards that don't do anything without another card, right? Which is a very big problem in Dark Magician decks. We have a lot of cards that need other cards to function. These cards are no stranger to that exact feeling. So there are games you'll just have these in your hand with no way to Dark Magician. You're like, well, this isn't like a Branded Fusion, Red Eyes Fusion card, so I'm sitting here crying. Until we get a card on that level, Magician's Rod's just going to be bad, though, is the shame, right? Until we have, like, Magician's Rod that can search a Dark Magician style Red Eyes Fusion, Branded Fusion, we're stuck with this. And you know what? It's fine. Gaze is quite good. Because look at all this innovation. Look at all this toolbox we've got going on. Wanted, Diabell, Future Silence, Shining Sark, Primite Royal, Lordly Load, Preparation of Rites, Dark Magician Girl, Magician's Apprentice. There's also Ready Fusion. Shoutouts to Ready Fusion. That one plays around most hand traps because you can't ash it. Prep gets ashed, Raw gets ashed, Load gets ashed, Wanted gets ashed, Diabell can be ashed, Future Science can be ashed, Sark can be ashed, Girl can be ashed, Dark Magician Destruction can be ashed. Ready Fusion can't be ashed. Also, all of these search so they can be drolled. Ready Fusion cannot be drolled because you're just summoning from the extra deck. So there is merit to Ready Fusion. Don't let anyone, tell you Ready Fusion's not good. Yes, it's not searchable. Like, pretty much everything here is searchable in one way or another, right? Except Prep. But, I mean, Prep searches the rest of our deck. But searchable, 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 searchable. Obviously, this isn't because it's an extra deck. But you get what I mean. I like these engines because they're consistent, because it's Dark Magician Girl as well. It's like on theme. This one's a little less on theme, but it's very strong. Primite's less on theme, but it's very strong. So I'm happy to put them in there. The biggest dilemma I have is, yeah, Ready Fusion's really good, but it wastes extra deck spots. I feel like our extra deck's already so tight. So I don't know if I can afford to put Ready Fusion in. And it's also just like, it's a 1 card in the main, or 2. You play like 2 or 3 of it. And then if you burn through, like, can I afford to play more than 1 sandwich? Not really. And if I burn through my 1 sandwich, then the rest of the copies are dead. It's frustrating, because in theory, it's the best spell to summon Dark Magician of Destruction for free, but it's also the weirdest one in my opinion. So they all have their pros and cons. Obviously, they're all good and bad in their own ways, and yet I can't help but feel like I'm doing a disservice by not playing Ready Fusion, but at the end of the day, there's just some cards you got to not play, and Ready Fusion's not as on theme as some of these other cards, or at least it doesn't have its own engine, whereas these engines do. That's what these are. These are engines. Ready Fusion's more of just a tech card. I don't know. It's weird. These are engines that like have life and have multiple cards. Ready Fusion's like, damn, did I say Ready Fusion? No, F. Prep's fine because like I'm already playing Illusion of Chaos, so it's like it works, right? But anyway, the closest card to Ready Fusion in this is like Prep, but once again, Prep feels more on theme because it's like, well, it's getting Illusion of Chaos. Last thing I want to say is Fusion deployment. Please don't play Fusion deployment. I know in theory it sounds like it's nearly the same as Prep and all this other stuff. It's not. It locks you into Fusion, my bros. You pretty much never want to be locked into Fusion. I know there's not even that many links, The links that we did make in this video, there wasn't many, right? There's not many, but you don't want to be locked out of your link plays because there still is good link plays to go for, right? There's still stuff like the Primite engine wants to end on spheres. Seals. If you're going second, you want to be making like Selene, Access Code Dark, even the BLS monsters like are good, right? There's so many other things you want to be doing, so you don't necessarily want to be locked out of the extra deck, right? The links are so good, I can't see myself ever wanting to be locked out of them, even just to go into Artemis with Rodman, like, seriously. But anyway, long story short, I think Gaze of Timaeus is insane and worth the slots at 3. But let me know what you think about Gaze of Timaeus in the comments. Am I glazing the Gaze of Timaeus too much? Or do you agree? Do you think it's just that insane as well? Yes, it's got its downside of banishing, but you've seen through the gameplay loop I've demonstrated, we can kind of play around it a lot of the time. And even though there's some games where you're just going to lose a fusion to it, maybe we'll get a way to summon them back in future. Or maybe you've got a tech that can help us not get our monsters banished or retrieve them from the banish zone. Let us know down in the comments and I'll get back to you guys very soon. Make sure if you are not subscribed to the channel, you hit that sub, you like, you comment, and big shout out to all the DM Royals. They're the members of the channel. They keep this channel going. Thank you guys, you're legends. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.